the Panthers probably have a few fans over in London who were happy to hear yesterday that Baker Mayfield is the Week 1 starting quarterback, and he will play at least the first quarter on Friday night against the Buffalo Bills. This is the one thing, and really the only thing, that I don't like about the preseason going from 4 games to 3, because you never know how any team is going to approach any of these games when it's 3. We always knew when it was 4.
Right.
You see a drive first game, 2 drives a second game, maybe a whole half, sometimes trickle into the third quarter. I remember when I was a kid, I'd get very excited when the starters would be out there after halftime.
Definitely.
And then the 4th preseason game, we know what it is. It's the battle, the final challenge for the remaining roster spots. Now, I don't know what the hell. I don't know what to expect. So, hey, good news. Friday night, we get to see Baker Mayfield against the Bills. Who would have expected in the preseason finale we would have seen any starters? But every team does it differently now, Chris.
It is funny. I mean, it's kind of an ever-evolving process. Back when my father, early in his career, the 4th preseason game was real. Like legit real. They'd play the Jets and, Mark Gastineau and Joe Klecko, and they'd be like crushing my dad early on. And he'd be like, "Damn, I thought this was preseason football," and it was real intensity. And then yes, it became shy away from the 4th quarter, the 4th preseason game. Play them in the 3rd preseason game, and now we're in a whole different state of like. I think the other thing that's really changed is the scrimmages. That's the other thing too. Just take for instance last night's game. The Jets, hey, they're going, well, we've hit the Falcons all week in practice. We don't want to play our starters out here, even though it's Monday Night Football and the fans are going to be here. So that has thrown a wrinkle into the situation. That's why you got to respect some of the other teams, or I do at least, especially in this era of you don't get to tackle and hit a lot. And we got a few teams like the Bills and the Chiefs who are going, no, we're going to get our opportunities to be live right here, right now. And we're not going to be, trying to feel our way into regular season football when the season does come. They're going to hit the ground running, and I think it's going to be a big advantage for them compared to some of these other teams.
We thought we were going to get Joe Flacco last night. Instead, we got very brief, moment in time, blink of an eye, MVP candidate Mike White, starter for the Jets against Marcus Mariota last night. We'll talk about that coming up later in the program. For now, though, Baker Mayfield, knowing as the rest of us do what the schedule says, Week 1, the Browns coming to town. Here's Baker Mayfield on facing the team that made him the first overall pick in the 2018 draft right out of the gates to start the season.
And right now, I'm just trying to get this schedule down. We're doing kind of a mock game week leading up to this Buffalo Bills game. And when that time comes, 3 weeks from now, we're going to handle prepping for Cleveland. Obviously, there's a lot of attachment there. I'm not going to, like I told you guys at Wofford, I'm not going to sit here and be a robot and say that it doesn't mean anything. It will, but right now all that matters is me and continuing to improve until this regular season starts. To be honest with you, I feel extremely healthy. So I'm ready to go. I'm loving football again, and a fresh start is great for everyone every once in a while, and just going to take this opportunity and not take it for granted.
That's boring, but that's what Baker Mayfield, I think, needs to be in Carolina. He needs to embrace boring. He was a little too controversial in Cleveland. And Chris, I kind of have a theory that they did this competition between Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold just to see how Baker Mayfield would handle not having the job given to him. Do we have a grown-up at the quarterback position in Carolina?
Right.
The Browns believe they didn't. Has this process of being ejected by the Browns caused him to mature? Carson Wentz last year, we've talked about this. He felt like he was getting a safe harbor in Indianapolis so he could blame the Eagles until the Colts kicked him out too. What was Baker Mayfield's attitude? Was he getting a lifeline to Carolina, or was this a second chance and last chance for Baker Mayfield? So I think they may have wanted to just monitor who they had, what they had, because if you start to crumble amid adversity over Sam Darnold getting first-team reps you thought that you were entitled to, what are you going to do when you start getting hit, maybe get banged up, lose some games, get some tough questions?
Right.
You're going to be just like you were in Cleveland.
Yeah, I don't doubt that, Mike. I don't think you're wrong with that point. I think they were probably evaluating that, him the person, him the player, him the ability to, pick up the offense, process it, put it out on the field, do all that. I'm sure this was all a little bit of a test. I think they knew what they signed up for to a degree. The thing I like about Baker Mayfield is, hey, he didn't sugarcoat. It's going to be a little different. And I think he's smart enough to know that, hey, I got to evolve too. And, Mike, we all got to remember this to a degree. I know there was the adult in the room conversation around Baker Mayfield. Sometimes as a player too, you get stuck in a spot where you don't have an adult to raise you, okay? You don't have an adult that makes you mature and the man you want, because especially when it's the number 1 pick or you're a top 5 pick, it's always petals of roses at your feet. And, oh, Baker, and, first-round pick guy, you're so great. Oh, you were a few minutes late for a meeting. Oh, it doesn't matter. You're the first-round pick. You're the first pick, actually. So it breeds that. We've kind of talked about this with Green Bay and Favre and Rodgers a little bit sometimes. So he gets stuck in with the old regime that was telling him how great he was, and they were invested in him, and they love him, and Jimmy Haslam loves him. And that can lead a young man down the wrong path. I think he's smart enough to realize, wait, that wasn't the right path, and hopefully he'll adjust from here. But it is cool. And to your point, I think it's really awesome that he is going to be playing Cleveland. And I think, honestly, Mike, it's going to be a rallying cry for the football team. It is. It's just being in a locker room with this type of stuff, they're going to want to play good for Baker, and the coaches are going to join in on, hey, let's screw over the Browns for how they treated our quarterback. Let's throw this out here at them. They're not ready for this. Screw the Browns. You screwed over our quarterback. We don't like what you said. I think there's a lot of positives here with Baker Mayfield and just the situation in Carolina.
Yeah, I've been reminded by several folks in the past few days, given the comments of Deshaun Watson following the announcement of his 11-game suspension and $5 million fine. It sure doesn't look like the Browns have a grown-up at quarterback.
Sure,
now.
Exactly right. And you can fall down that path in a hurry. And I'm going to look, Brady was the ultimate soldier general in New England, right? He got to a place where they were, hey, red carpet, bed of roses. And we've seen him change pretty, abruptly here in a short time. I'm not saying it's bad, but he's changed in a hurry because of the empowerment the organization and the coaches have given him. So it's not always easy when you're in that situation, let alone a young kid who is just getting into the NFL, and everybody's telling him the man, and nobody's telling him when he's wrong or what to do or anything there. There was no big-time, long-time starting quarterback that was his backup quarterback that could lead him down the road of, wait, hey, Baker, this is what you do. Like I've always said, I had Brad Johnson, Brian Greasy a little to help me in that way. He never had that there. I know Case Keenum was there, but Case Keenum never really was an established starter either to that point, except for that 1 year. So maybe I'm wrong about that aspect because I know he.
No, I think you're right.
But,
and they were afraid of him last year.
Exactly.
They were afraid to go to
right.
him and say, maybe
Yeah.
you shouldn't be playing with a left arm that is hanging, down from your body, and you're wearing this giant brace and trying to throw a football. Why don't we evaluate it properly? Take some time off. Maybe you need a procedure now. I felt like they tiptoed on eggshells around this guy constantly.
Yeah, they let him be king. I think they did. And then again, I don't care who you are. When you are the king and treated like that, yeah, that's when, a little ego gets involved and narcissism might get involved a little bit. And you just, hey, well, I'm going to tell them when I'm going to sit out, right? That's what he said in one of the press conferences. I'll tell them, right? And that I think kind of said it all. So that's where I don't blame him completely. There is obviously some dysfunctions there in Cleveland. And I think it can go back to previous staffs that were even there before Kevin Stefanski.
Well, fortunately, the Browns seem to have learned from the perils of falling all over yourself to anoint a franchise quarterback and giving him everything he wants and saying everything that needs it. Never mind. Something else that occurred to me. For the second straight year, imagine this.
Yeah.
What are the odds of this happening? For the second straight year, the Panthers open the season at home with a top 3 quarterback from the 2018 draft going against the team that drafted him from the other conference.
Right.
Jets last year
Right.
at Panthers to start the season. Browns this year at Panthers to start the season.
It is ironic, don't you think?
I don't think it's ironic. It's coincidental.
Yes.
Highly coincidental.
Yeah, but it is amazing. You're right. I didn't think about that either. And We saw Sam Darnold get the victory last year. This is going to, but that was the Jets with a young quarterback. This is going to be a little different. I think even with Jacoby Brissett, Cleveland looks at themselves as a playoff caliber team. And you and I both know, and most people that cover football know, Cleveland's got a lot of aspects of the team where you go, whoa, they're legit in this area. So this will not be easy. And Baker's situation, I think, will add a little tension to the situation altogether.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.